Oh yeah. Yeah, throw it in there. Here. I got that
You
one.
want it? Yeah, we're not gonna like.
You guys mop, right?
Hi everybody, I'm Noah. Welcome to the Food52 Test Kitchen. This is another recipe drop. I'm here with a very special guest, podcaster, pasta visionary, and now cookbook author, Dan Pashman. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey Noah, thanks for having me.
We're very excited to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your new cookbook?
Yeah, well, so it started when I invented a new shape of pasta called cascatelli, specially designed to hold a ton of sauce, be extra delicious to sink your teeth into. Kind of went viral. Everyone was sending me pictures of what they're making with it though, and it was like 75% tomato sauce. So I decided to write a cookbook that would be all new and different pasta sauces to show people there's so much more that you can and should be putting on your pasta. And the result is this book, which is anything's pastable. It has no traditional pasta recipes. Everything's got some kind of twist in it.
It's awesome. Anything's pastable, including what are we making today?
Well, so this is a twist on a classic Neapolitan area dish called spaghetti alla Nerano, or fried zucchini. This one involves fried zucchini, but we're gonna add some feta cheese. We're gonna partially puree the zucchini in there. We're gonna add lemon, so it's gonna be more tangy. And then we're going to add a Za'atar Pangrattato, Za'atar seasoned toasted breadcrumbs on top.
Okay, yum. I think we should start with that.
Let's do it.
Actually, we have a little bit of a cast iron here.
Yeah.
Heating up, some panko breadcrumbs.
Now, there's a whole section in my cookbook on pangrattato, these seasoned toasted breadcrumbs. It's a common thing in Italy, and they add texture to pasta, but in America, I feel we don't have enough texture in our pasta, Noah, thank you.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Asian noodle and rice dishes, of course, there's so much different ways that their texture is incorporated, but we need crisp and crunch in our pasta dishes here in the US of A. And so I have this section on pangrattato. Typically in Italy, they do breadcrumbs and maybe garlic, rosemary, oregano, classics.
Right.
But I said, what if we were to, let's break out of the Italian framework. So
Yeah,
we're
totally.
doing Za'atar Pangrattato. I got a recipe for a lime corn nut pangrattato in
Yeah,
there.
yum.
So you toast this up real nice.
Why panko and not those Italian breadcrumbs?
Because the panko crumbs are a little bit bigger and they have more surface area. Surface area to volume ratio is a huge, as I'm sure you know, that's
Right, of course.
huge. Because more surface areas mean more crisp, more crunch, more surface to hold seasoning.
Right. It's all about surface area.
Yeah.
So is that what we're talking about with cascatelli?
100%. Pasta shapes that have more surface area are going to hold more sauce. All right, that's why. Why would anyone ever buy like penne lisce, the smooth penne, when you could buy penne rigate, ridged?
Right.
You should always have ridges.
Would you ever buy penne period?
No, I wouldn't buy it either way.
Yeah,
It's not a good shape. It has no forkability.
Right.
It bounces off the fork, and tubes don't hold sauce well. People think tubes are going to hold sauce, and they just don't.
Right.
Cascatelli has a lot of ruffles and ridges and nooks and crannies, and I think that actually holds sauce a lot better. Yeah, so these are the three metrics that I use to judge all pasta shapes, right? So there's forkability, which is how easy is it to get the shape on your fork and keep it there.
Right.
Then there's sauceability, how readily does sauce adhere to the shape, and tooth sinkability, which is how satisfying is it to sink your teeth into it. I think a lot of pasta shapes are pretty good at one or two of these, very few nail all three.
So we're using cascatelli today.
That's right.
I have a good question for you.
I'm ready.
Or maybe a difficult question for you.
Okay.
Is cascatelli perfect?
I think a really great pasta shape will work with a wide range of sauces, but you could never have one shape that'll be the ideal shape for every conceivable sauce.
Right.
So I think it's really, really good, but nothing's perfect.
When you're gonna make a bowl of pasta, do you think about the shape first, or do you think about the sauce first?
That's a very good question. I usually think of the sauce first, because it's more about, like, I always have a range of different pasta shapes in my pantry. So we always have enough different shapes. So it's really about, like, what ingredients do we have on hand for the sauce?
Right.
And so that's why it's sort of about, what do I have on hand? What do I feel like eating?
Hey, how do you feel about this? A little darker, you feel good about
I
it?
think that looks good. I believe the instruction in the recipe tells you to darken it to the shade of peanut butter.
Yeah, I think
This
that's
was something, I'm not a professional chef. This cookbook I wrote with a team of incredibly talented recipe developers. And I learned so much about recipe writing, which you probably already knew, but just in the process of doing this. And one of the things that I thought going in, the thing that was going to stress me out about writing recipes was, should it be a teaspoon more of this or a teaspoon less of that? Actually ended up agonizing over was the instructions, the wording, like how done should the breadcrumbs be?
Right.
And so, like, darkened to the shade of peanut butter, I was like, yes, that makes sense to any person. So, like, unless you're allergic to peanuts. But,
Well, you can still see it.
Yeah, you still know what it looks like.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna stir in the za'atar. And the salt, right? Get a little salt in there.
Quarter teaspoon, I think it
Yeah,
said.
sounds good. Do you care what I used to mix it? Is it what we're using
No,
before?
go nuts, yeah.
So, Now the heat from the toasted breadcrumbs is gonna just sort of warm the za'atar. You can already smell it. You smell
Yeah,
that?
it blooms it a little, the oil.
The second that oil and heat hits the za'atar, I feel like we're in the forest all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's so herbaceous. I love that
Ooh,
smell.
I love that smell. Okay, so I think we should move into.
Let's make some
you wanna
pasta.
Start slicing up the zucchini.
Yeah, let's do it. You wanna help me out? Should we take a knife?
Yeah, go for it.
Wow, leather sheets. Look.
Isn't that nice? Do you feel like you have a maybe different perspective on food and cooking because of your background, sort of doing like investigative podcasting almost?
Yeah, it definitely changed my approach because I might not be a chef and recipe developing was something I had to get the hang of, but I know how to tell a story. And I wanted stories to be an element of the book as well. The stories of how some of these dishes came to be. Like a lot of people, even people who buy a lot of cookbooks don't really know actually where recipes come from. I actually have an essay in there called Mom, Where Do Recipes Come From? I wanted to kind of tell the story of the book in the book.
Right. Hey, how do you feel about this, boss?
I'd go a little thicker.
A little thicker?
Because when we fry it up, we wanted to get a nice golden brown on the outside without turning to mush on the inside.
I'll watch you. Okay.
Yeah. All right, we gotta heat up some oil in there, right?
Yeah.
Should I crank up the flame?
Yeah, it should be
Oh,
on.
is it not? All right.
Should be hot.
Yeah, that feels good.
Ready?
That's so pretty. Let's stand by for sizzle. Oh yeah. Yeah, throw it in there. Here, I got that
You
one.
got it? Yeah, we're not gonna like.
You guys mop, right?
We'll salt too at this point. And we want this to kind of sit and brown a little
That's
bit.
right. You gotta. This is not really my personality, Noah. I'm a tinkerer. So when something's in a pan, I want to mix it. I want to feel like I'm doing something.
Right.
But I must resist that urge.
Okay.
I will just make sure that they're a little bit more flat, more surface area in that oil. There we go. And yeah, we want to let it sit. We want to let it brown really nicely.
That flavor of like slightly like almost charred zucchini is very
caramelization.
Yeah, very
That's
special.
right.
Probably should cut some garlic too.
Yeah, let's do that.
4 cloves. 1, 2.
Yeah. You're probably better at peeling garlic than I am. How am I doing here?
You're doing great. I should have brought a paring knife out. And this is, what kind of slice do you do on this? Just real thin?
Yeah.
Pieces?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't even need to be insanely thin because we don't want it to burn.
Right.
I too fall into that red sauce rut. The jar of sauce is so easy, it's basic, everyone knows it, the kids will eat it. But I just wanted to do something more, and I also wanted to break out of Italian cuisine. I just think that's, as American food culture has become more diverse, I certainly cook and eat a much wider range of ingredients and cuisines than I had growing up. So, that's what my pantry is. That's how I cook. I have leftover pasta and leftover dal, and for lunch the next day I put the dal on top of the pasta.
Right.
I wasn't trying to innovate. I'm sure I'm not the first person to do it, but I feel like that's how I cook and eat today.
Right.
So I was like, let's have a recipe for mac and dal. Let's have cacio e pepe with chili crisp. Let's do something like spaghetti alla Nerano with fried zucchini, but instead we're gonna have feta cheese and not just lemon juice, but lemon zest, and then we're gonna have the za'atar, so we're adding a Middle Eastern, North African component to it. And so, to me that makes it super exciting.
Yeah, agreed. So where do you think cascatelli then, and actually even your cookbook and these recipes kind of fall into the wider world of global noodles, right? Because there is a world beyond Italy. There's soba and there's ramen and there's hand-pulled noodles and there's.
In terms of noodles, I think of cascatelli as being more in the Italian tradition because I was really studying pasta specifically when I made it. So in terms of cascatelli, there's that. But to me, I think the cookbook is really sort of uniquely American. I think that there's been a number of really exciting, interesting cookbooks that have come out in recent years. I think of Priya Krishna's Indianish. I think of Eric Kim's Korean American. I think of Christina Cho's Chinese Enough. And all of these are showing us that different food cultures are coming together in everyday pantries. And this is just what people are cooking, and it's the way that I cook. So this is just sort of one more person's kind of contribution to that conversation.
Yeah. So what's your desired color here? Do we like?
You want to get it to the point until about a third of the zucchini is well browned. And you want at least all of it to look a little translucent. You don't want that bright white, raw look in any of them.
Right.
So you just want to keep mixing it until you get some translucence on all of them and a third well browned. And where I see the extra light ones, I'm just sort of maneuvering them around so that they can kind of have their turn to sit on the bottom.
Yes.
And get toasty. Oh, yeah, these Food52 people have nice aprons. You guys have good aprons.
We do.
I got a gray one like this at home.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. We're looking great here, Noah.
Yeah, I agree.
We got a nice mix. Everything's a little translucent. Some pieces are very brown, some pieces not so much. This is what we want. All right, so right now we're gonna take about a third of that zucchini and transfer it to a blender. Put it back over here for a minute. Now we're gonna move all that to one side, and we're gonna add our garlic and our chili flakes, red pepper.
This is smelling really, really amazing.
Yeah, smells phenomenal.
We might be able to drop the pasta now.
Okay,
What do you think?
let's do it. Time to put in the pasta here, Noah. We're going with my cascatelli.
So we already have salt in
and
the water.
my
just so
general
everyone knows that.
proportion in the cookbook is when you're using a pound of pasta, 4 quarts of water, 2 tablespoons kosher salt.
Okay, I think we're just about ready here.
Yeah, I think our pasta's good. We gotta reserve a bunch of pasta water though.
2 cups?
We need 2 cups. So save us
understood.
2 cups of pasta water. We're gonna drain the pasta over here.
It's about 2 cups there.
Can I use this weird contraption
I
to
think
drain
you
the
should.
pasta?
Yeah, totally.
All right, we got the pasta water reserved?
Yep.
All right,
2
excuse
cups.
me.
Oh, sorry, chef.
You just call me chef?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Today you are.
We'll put the pasta to the side, focus our attention back over here and on our blender.
Should we bring it?
Yeah, let's bring it
around.
front and center now. All right, we're ready to do some blending?
Yes.
All right,
So we have our zucchini in here.
that's right.
This is like
a third of the zucchini.
Bit. Yep. Well, we had a little bit of lemon zest.
We're gonna add lemon zest, lemon juice, and a cup of pasta water.
A little bit of lemon juice.
Yep. So we're gonna start to mix this up. Oh, it's salt. Did you add the salt?
Oh, no.
Remaining 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay.
We'll add a teaspoon of salt.
All right, there we go. Now we're gonna start to add butter. Ready? Gotta keep it running. Keep it going here. We'll keep blending. 30 to 45 seconds. Blend until smooth. Now that nice hot pasta water in there is gonna melt that butter right into the sauce perfectly.
Feel good
That's
about
probably. I think that looks good. I like how that looks. Now we're gonna get our zucchini sizzling again. Which one?
But by adding the butter in with the blender on, it's sort of like emulsifying and going in progressively. We have cold butter, hot liquid. It melts a little bit at a time. And so we
Exactly.
get kind of a creamy, stable
That's right, but that was
sauce that way.
That was 4 pats of butter for a pound of pasta. What?
really good.
It's good, right? And we're not even done yet. But that's what I love about this recipe and pureeing zucchini is that you get that texture of a rich cream. Like this is a dish that feels decadent, but actually is mostly vegetables.
Yeah.
And olive oil.
I wanted to ask you, if you're not eating pasta, what are you eating?
I mean, it depends on the day. No, I'm a pretty varied eater. There's not much I don't like. I love flour tortillas. That's probably really my number one, which I guess isn't sort of from pasta. It's just
Number one. That's number one. Over pasta.
I think so. I mean,
Wow.
if it's a really good flour tortilla.
Yeah, of course.
I love flour tortillas. Other things that I love a good burger. I love a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the one food known to humankind that is perfect at any time of day or night.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You can have it for breakfast. You can have it for a midnight snack. There is no time that's wrong for peanut butter and jelly.
I'm more likely to have flour tortillas in my kitchen than I am to have like white bread or
Right,
something.
right.
So sometimes I'll make a peanut butter and jelly on flour tortilla, and I'll fold it in half, and it's like a little peanut butter and jelly quesadilla.
Wow.
And that's like 2 a.m. That's what I'm eating generally.
All right, I'm gonna stay up till 2 a.m. one day just to see what that's like.
Yeah, it doesn't taste as good when you eat it at 2 p.m.
Right. I'll bet that is good. I'm gonna try that. We got the sizzling going here. That garlic aroma is coming back. Now we're going to add in our pureed zucchini mixture right here out of the blender. Look at that.
Oh my God. Wow.
And then we're going to. Is this still hot? I'll get the doohickey just because it's fun.
Yeah, right.
All right, you ready? We're going pasta in now.
And this is that cascatelli.
That's right. This is Sfollini brand cascatelli. As we're stirring here, you're doing a great job here. Noah, you see the sauce is thickening. Are we on medium heat here? That's
Yeah.
good, yeah. You get it nice and hot. We want it to tighten up a little bit, thicken, You can see how the sauce is filling inside of Cascatelli's. So this area here, let's see if we can find a good specimen. So I call that area the sauce trough. This area right in between the two ruffles, I call the sauce trough. Sauce gets in there, it doesn't come out. So let's gently, we're gonna fold in the feta. Ready?
Ready. And so it doesn't look like it now, but this is feta in brine, which you call for specifically in
That's
the book.
right. The vacuum sealed feta or pre-crumbled feta, just not as good.
It's better.
You want feta in brine. It is a little more expensive, but it has so much more flavor.
Okay, let's make a couple plates for us.
Let's do it. We're gonna add some fresh cracked pepper on both. And then we're gonna bring it back to the beginning here, Noah.
Do you remember this?
I remember it. You remember it?
I remember this.
The Za'atar Pangrattato. And don't skimp on the pangrattato. This is a big part of this dish. You want to see it, you want to taste it, you want to smell it, you want to know it's there.
I love those big panko flakes.
Yep. Shall we?
I think we should,
All
yeah.
right. The aroma, I mean, just the lemon, the garlic, the za'atar.
Oh my God. The zucchini puree is genius. It's beyond genius.
Thank you.
It's so good.
Shout out to recipe developer Asha Lupi, who I collaborated with on this recipe. Yeah.
If you want to make this at home, the recipe is in Dan's new book, Anything's Pastable. It'll also be on the Food52 website, but I really highly recommend getting the book because there's, how many recipes are there in total?
81.
There's 81, so there's 80 more recipes in there that are just as exciting and delicious as this one.
It's gonna revolutionize your pasta game.
Yeah, it already has for me. I would get yourself a box of Cascatelli, and I would get yourself the cookbook, and I would head to the Food52 website and make this pasta tonight.